Today, in response to revelations that emails had been released by Democrats regarding communications between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and pseudo journalist Michael Wolff, there was a Caroline Levitt showed up at the White House press room and didn't talk about it, at least not for a while. First, there was a little bait and switch going on. I'm going to talk all about all of this later. But it kicked off with Kash Patel talking about some alleged breakthrough deal with China. And then Caroline Levitt told a lot of lies about things having absolutely nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Then she took questions. The first question was from a British reporter about the fact that Donald is suing the BBC. I think he's suing them for $100 million or $1 billion or whatever round number he's into today. And actually, I misheard the reporter. What she said was that Friday is the deadline for the BBC to apologize for the fact that a show about Donald's role in January 6th had been edited. I mean, I guess edited inappropriately because everything's edited pretty much. But I misheard her because the sound was really bad. I thought she was apologizing for the BBC's behavior, which kind of set me off. So I apologize for getting it wrong, but it kind of is in of a piece with what I want to discuss. Since 2016, or perhaps even before that, Donald has been doing everything in his power to undermine people's faith in the media. Much like his Nazi counterparts, he's referred to, who refer to the media as the Lügenpresse. He has referred to them as fake news and said they're liars. He has actually put individual journalists in his crosshairs, and everything is a hoax. Everything is rigged against him. Everything is the far left radical lunatic media. Cannot be trusted unless, of course, it's saying good stuff about him. Right. But this is a much larger project, and Caroline Levitt is just the logical conclusion to this. Donald and everybody in the Trump regime and everybody in the fascist Republican Party has been doing everything in their power to undermine our institutions and in some cases dismantle our agencies entirely. They have done everything in their power to destroy norms and traditions. And they have actually engaged in an all-out assault on truth, facts, and history. If it were up to them, and in some cases they're succeeding, books would be banned, are being banned. History curricula would be altered. We see what's happening in terms of January 6th and the 2020 election. Donald is using the Department of Justice and he is using his presidential pardon power to rewrite the history of the 2020 election and of January 6th. And now we have in the White House press room a woman who is nothing but a taxpayer-funded propagandist. So what they are trying to do, and in many cases succeeding in doing, is poisoning the minds of enough Americans so that they are no longer capable of believing the evidence in their own lives. They are more inclined to believe what their leaders are telling them over their own experiences. We have seen this since 2016. when it comes to elections. Donald won in 2016 because of the outdated racist electoral college. But Hillary Clinton did indeed win the popular vote by 3 million votes. That's not good enough for Donald. So what has he done since then? He has relitigated that election and has tried to convince people that millions of immigrants voted illegally for Hillary Clinton, which is the only reason she won the popular vote. Now, all of this, again, despite the fact that he ended up in the Oval Office anyway. So you can imagine, since he lost the popular vote by a massive margin, by almost 8 million votes in 2020, that he would be even more dedicated to the project of making sure enough people believe that that election also was rigged against him. Now, that serves several purposes. One, it protects his savagely wounded ego. His narcissistic injury in the wake of the 2020 election is still having repercussions for all of us. But he's keeping that in his back pocket so that when 2028 rolls around, he can say, well, you know what? I should have been president in 2020. So therefore, I'm owed another term. I did not serve consecutively because Joe Biden stole the 2020 election from me. You see. But much more troubling than that is the extent to which a major part of the Trump regime's agenda is to destroy the American people's faith in anything factual. They're doing it when it comes to the efficacy of safe vaccines. They're doing it when it comes to reporting on anything that is factually accurate about Donald Trump that is not complimentary to him. And there's nothing factually accurate about Donald Trump that is flattering to him. And perhaps for the long-term success of our very fragile democracy, the extent to which Donald and the Republican Party are absolutely dedicated to destroying the American people's faith in free and fair elections, or our ability to run free and fair elections. None of this is accidental. All of it is of a piece because they know if people can be convinced not to believe in the reality in which they live, if they can be convinced that their votes don't count because, or an election isn't legitimate because Donald and the Republicans didn't win, then they can hold on to power for as long as they want, no matter how damaging that is to us, our country, and our democracy. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's episode of Barry Trump Live. Thank you so much for being here. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself, but having had to watch Levitt's press conference from beginning to end in real time, my ears are still bleeding, so forgive me if I seem a little off. Listening to that woman in short bursts is awful enough, but having to listen to her, I think it was almost 20 or 30 minutes, was... let's put it this way. Nobody should have to do that. So, as I discussed in greater detail in a video that we released earlier today, the Trump regime is in full crisis mode. The House Oversight Democrats released email exchanges between convicted sex predator Jeffrey Epstein, his convicted co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, and pseudo-journalist Michael Wolff. The emails show Donald knew all about Epstein's crime, or I should say, the emails claim that Donald knew all about Epstein's crime and even spent time, a significant amount of time, with one of Epstein's underage victims. The new information contradicts statements made by both Donald and Maxwell in recent months. I need to be more explicit here. Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, yes, indeed, they are convicted sex predators, but specifically, they are rapists and sex traffickers of girls and young women. Just want to make that clear. Donald was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein for almost 15 years, and he hung out with Ghislaine Maxwell a lot as well. Just saying, for context. To address these deeply damning revelations, we had this press conference, which was, for the most part, about everything but these emails. I think she got maybe 2 or 3 questions about Epstein, Maxwell, and the emails. There were no follow-up questions asked. The questions themselves were pretty anodyne, and gave Levitt the opportunity to lie endlessly. I think honestly, I feel the need, maybe not about today's press conference, but about any one of her press conferences, just to go through it and stop when she tells a lie and explain exactly how she lied. Because she is currently one of the most dangerous forward-facing members of the Trump regime. When she was asked about this new information and how much of it contradicts Donald's own pronouncements on the issue, she told him quite a large lie. Let's take a look.
I have your statement about the new Epstein emails that have been released by House Democrats. Separate from why you believe the emails were made public, can you address their substance? Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us.
Well, here's a question for Eva Braun. Why do the Republicans feel the need to make public Ms. Giuffre's name? Why? Also, where do we start with the lies? They do not at all prove that Donald had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein's crime or knew nothing about them. By the way, she then says, and I don't think this is true either, but I'll look into it. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was a member of Mar-a-Lago, but after claiming that Donald knew nothing and wasn't implicated in anything, apparently, according to Levitt, he told Jeffrey Epstein to leave Mar-a-Lago because he was a creep and a pedophile. So did he know or did he not know? And if he knew, why didn't he do anything about it? And that's the part of the email, one of the emails that's been released, that is relevant here. In writing to Ghislaine Maxwell, his co-conspirator in raping and sex trafficking girls and young women, Jeffrey Epstein refers to Donald as the dog that didn't bark. Wasn't quite sure what that meant. It's a reference probably to the Hounds of Baskerville. I don't know. It comes from one of the Sherlock Holmes stories. And it means that the thing that Jeffrey Epstein expected to happen didn't happen. He fully expected Donald Trump to say what Donald knew about what Epstein was doing, and yet he didn't. And Epstein doesn't know why, and neither at the time did Ghislaine Maxwell. Probably one of the biggest lies there was that Donald and the Trump regime are transparent about anything. They're not. Levitt herself, in addition to being a world-class Nazi propagandist, is also one of the greatest obfuscators currently at work in our government. Just after today's press conference, Donald posted the following on his social media site, quote, "The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else. And any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats," unquote. Okay. Well, first of all, the Republicans run every single branch of government. This was their shutdown. It was up to them to reopen it. Secondly, and perhaps more relevantly to the discussion at hand, this is not a hoax. Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender, and then he was arrested in, I believe, 2019 for raping and sex trafficking girls and young women. The only reason he didn't go to trial is because he committed suicide in prison. That is not a hoax. There is indeed an Epstein file. And the reason this is an ongoing issue is because it is Donald Trump who promised his base that he would release the Epstein file when and if he got back into office in 2025. And then he didn't do it. Why? Well, perhaps in part because his own DOJ told him that he was mentioned several times in said Epstein files. A little while after that, he posted again saying, quote, "In other words, the Democrats are using the Jeffrey Epstein hoax to try and deflect from their massive failures, in particular their most recent one, the shutdown," unquote. I mean, I don't disagree that the capitulation of 8 Democrats was a failure for the party and for the American people, but for the Democrats, the Epstein files have nothing to do with any of this. But they can do more than one thing at a time. And they have decided, since the Republicans in the House, or I should say, since Speaker of the House Mike Johnson refuses or has refused thus far to order the DOJ to turn over the Epstein files, the Democrats are doing whatever they can to get the information out there to the American people, information Donald Trump himself promised us. I want to say one other thing. The idea of hearing Virginia Giuffre's name come out of Caroline Leavitt's mouth made me feel rather violent, metaphorically speaking. Ms. Giuffre died by suicide in April of this year. One can only imagine the unspeakable horror she suffered after being so horrifically abused by Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And one of the things that people like Leavitt have been pointing to is the fact that in her testimony and depositions, Virginia Giuffre said that she had no awareness that Donald was involved. She never saw him with any of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. But here's the thing. That to me just makes her a more credible witness, because she didn't implicate somebody who, and in implicating him, could have actually caused a very serious catastrophe for Donald and the Republican Party. And it's not because she's a coward. My God, she implicated Prince Andrew. So I think her telling the truth about having no evidence, of not having seen any evidence that Donald was implicated, makes her testimony against Andrew even more compelling. It does not at all, as Levitt would have us believe, exonerate Donald. Why? Well, because Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell had dozens, if not hundreds, of victims. It would be ridiculous to assume that every single one of those victims knew about every single one of Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. Now, we know that Donald's denials are meaningless. The evidence will speak for itself when and if we are allowed access to it. There's no reason to believe there won't be more of it, because if there weren't, then the Epstein files, if they had exonerated Donald in any way, would have been released. Now, he is clearly feeling the heat. On that note, Axios reports that Donald is pressuring some White House Republicans to withdraw their votes for the discharge petition to force the release of the Epstein files. Specifically, he's leaning on Lauren Boebert of Colorado and Nancy Mace of South Carolina. Reports say Boebert met with FBI and DOJ officials today in a skiff, of all things. That's a secure, compartmentalized something. I always forget what skiff stands for, but it is a very secure room, and you are not allowed to bring any recording device into it. So these FBI and DOJ officials, well, you could say they tried to talk her out of voting for this measure, but I think it was an attempt to intimidate her. Thankfully, and I have to admit I'm a little surprised by this, the attempt failed. Meanwhile, Donald has been reaching out to Nancy Mace personally and repeatedly. House Speaker Mike Johnson has warned his caucus to vote against the petition. Warned as in what? I don't know. If no votes are reversed, however, the measure will get the 218th signature it needs to advance shortly because, as The Guardian reports, House members are expected to vote on the funding bill that has led Republicans to keep the government shut down for 42 days. This again comes after 8, I'd say misguided, but I don't think that's strong enough a word, traitorous Democratic senators broke ties with their party and voted in favor of the bill despite Republicans' refusal to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits and subsidies, which is the whole reason we got into this mess in the first place. The good news, not that there's much of it these days, about the House returning to session is that finally, Mike Johnson doesn't have any excuses left in his refusal to swear in the new Arizona Democratic Representative Adelina Grijalva. He has been putting this off for probably obvious reasons because, as Mother Jones put it, Grijalva is the Trump regime's worst nightmare. Why? I bet you already know. She has pledged to be the final vote on a discharge position that would force a vote on a bipartisan bill to release government files from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Here's footage from that moment when Grijalva was finally, after 7 weeks, sworn in.
And the representative-elect will raise her right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations, you're now a member of the 119th Congress.
Congratulations to Representative Grijalva on a long-delayed swearing in. The people of Arizona 7th deserve better than not being represented for 7 weeks, which, just put this in context, was the result of the Speaker of the House denying those constituents representation because, if only for 7 weeks, he overturned the results of a free and fair election. There is some horrific irony in listening to that man ask another person to swear to uphold and protect the Constitution from enemies foreign and domestic when he himself is an enemy of our founding document, as is his boss. Directly after she was sworn in, Grijalva spoke on the House floor. Watch her speech and first order of business.
Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people. We need to fight for our immigrant communities and veterans. We need to stand up for our public schools, children, and educators. We need to respect tribal sovereignty in our environment. We need to stand up for LGBTQ plus rights, because that's what the American people expect us to do. Fight for them. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files.
Again, congratulations to Representative Adelita Grijalva. Her father, Raul, whose seat she now occupies, I'm sure, would be very proud. It's Wednesday. Let us breathe. All right. It is time. We have reached that moment. We deserve this moment, the emotional support moment. Again, oh, by the way, I'm going to say we're going to look up into the sky while we keep breathing. I don't think I breathed since yesterday. Anyway, last night, some people in places this does not typically happen, saw the aurora borealis, which is just amazing. I had to go to Iceland in February and wake up at 2:00 in the morning and go outside at negative 40-degree temperatures to see it. Trust me, it was worth it. But for those of you who got to see it in, I don't know, more moderate temperatures and a more reasonable time of day, congratulations. That's really cool. So what we're going to show you are images of the Crab Nebula, which is a remnant of a supernova explosion that appeared in the sky in 1054 CE. So please breathe and enjoy. That could have been longer. All right. Oh yeah, by the way, one of the lies we were treated to today was Donald is the MRI. Just so you're aware. I mean, I guess it's possible. I mean, what the medical term for acing a medical test is, it was negative. You know, nothing bad showed up. But remember, no doctor just asked you to get an MRI for the fun of it. If you're asked to get an MRI, it's because they think something might be wrong. Anyway, let's get to your comments, questions, etc. All right, we have a new member. Welcome, Terry D8C. That's fabulous. Dorothy gifted 1 Maritime Media membership. That is so appreciated. Thank you for that. Love my dogs a lot. Thank you so much as always. Comment, my dog is tired of hearing me swear and calling politicians very ugly names. So she told me to donate to your swear jar. I fucking love that. Sorry, I'm editorializing. Back to your comment. I confess, the air is pretty darn blue in my house. Yeah, I hear you. Today was a day. Wow. Today was a day. Susan, thank you so much. As always, look, another swear jar refill. We're going to need it. Hell of a day. Yes, it's a theme. Fucking day. Mighty Cheryl, thank you as always for gifting one Mary Trump Media membership and the much anticipated Mighty Cheryl two for her. Thank you for that. Question: if you had a White House pass, what would your first question be for KK Caroline? I'm sure you would have a lot of follows, but where would you start? I think I would ask her. That's actually a tough one. I mean, I'm trying to be serious about this. This will never happen, but I'm trying to be serious about it anyway. I mean, I could ask her why, or when she graduated from the Goebbels Institute of Propaganda. But I think in all seriousness, what I would ask her is why she is so comfortable promoting fascism, promoting and defending fascism and America. And I guess I would also ask her what happened to her that she just has no sense of basic human decency. I mean, I'm not going to get an answer about anything I ask. So I think my question would be more to highlight what a dangerous, despicable, un-American person she is. Soka Deb gifted one Mary Trump Media membership. Thank you so much for that. Aaron Hanlon, a super sticker. Thank you as always. Awesome. And Aaron again. Thank you for gifting 10 Mary Trump Media memberships. That's fabulous. Susan, member for 5 months. Very cool. Question: does Donald like the Christian nationalists? He doesn't like anybody except his very rich. Let's put it this way. He doesn't like anybody unless they're really rich and do stuff for him. Give him money, give him power, kiss his ass. He just knows they're of use to him. But they also think he's of use to them. So there you go. Everything is transactional for Donald. Everything. CBB 3479, thank you very much for that. Comment, sorry. Mary, thank you so much for the real-time fact-checking during the presser earlier. Came in late and kept looking up, wondering who was in my house talking so loudly. It was you! Do that more often, please. I'm sorry if it was loud. I was having a little trouble hearing. There was something wrong with my headphones. They weren't working. So I could only hear the sound out of the monitor. So it was really kind of low. But I also wanted to keep her low enough so that I could just comment. So it's a balance that we need to figure out. Part of the problem is my headphones weren't working. And that I do not know why. But yeah, I think there was one point at which she was lying with such fluency and rapidity that I couldn't quite keep up. Joe, thank you so much. As always, question: if you could choose the prison for this regime, which one would you choose? The Hague. I want them to go to The Hague in orange jumpsuits and handcuffs and leg irons and be tried for crimes against humanity. Every single one of them. That one, Katie, 3428. Thank you so much for that, Katie. Comment. But his email. Yeah, no kidding. Popcorn for the upcoming shit show. Stay awesome, Mary. Well, thank you. Eating more popcorn would be awesome. That's a good idea. I like that. Lori H. T. 8723, thank you very much. Comment, fascist authoritarians don't like educated people. No, they do not. That's why they do everything in their power to keep them ignorant. Sokadeb, thank you so much. Comment, as Brown Mary, aka Waj, reminds us to believe our own eyes and ears. Brilliant intro, Mary. As usual, thanks. Well, thank you. I wasn't sure I could pull it together because I've got to tell you, after watching that press conference today, Lexi and I were struggling. Let's put it that way. It was tough. It was very tough to regroup. So thank you so much, Sokadeb. Roxana, thank you. This is a catch fee, and we need those. It's not going to happen anytime soon because it's winter now, but we do need to start preparing for the Mary Trump Media Kitten. Sorry, the Mary Trump Media Travel Kitten. It's a very important distinction. In the middle of nowhere, thank you so much for gifting 5 Mary Trump Media memberships. That's awesome. Susan also gifted 5 Mary Trump Media memberships, which is most excellent of you. Akbostic, perhaps, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, is a new member. Welcome. It is great to have you. Kazrin, thank you very, very much for the fucking swear jar, Mary. No kidding. All right, I'm gonna try not to swear too much. I know some people don't like it, but first I must hydrate. Stephen, member for 1 month. Fabulous. Love you, Mary. Well, thank you, Stephen. That's great and glad you're here. Barbara is a new member. Welcome. We are happy to have you here. Elwise 109, thank you very much for that. Comment, I so enjoy your channel. Please keep it up. Oh, we will. We will. We are not going anywhere. The fascists are in charge. It is compulsory. It is our obligation to be here every night, even if it kills us. No, it's not gonna kill us. Nope. No, it is not. Well, that just wouldn't be fair. Night Owl, Ohio, member for 5 months. Amazing. Comment, I was off quilting for 3 days. Very cool. And I came back to the Dems folding and Duck Lips Levitt doing what she does best. For fuck's sake. Swear jar. What a day. Love you, Mary. Well, thank you, Night Owl, Ohio. Yeah, I know. I mean, sometimes, honestly, we all need to take a break, but then we risk coming back to unspeakable horror. It's a tough. What am I trying to say? It's a higher wire act is what I'm trying to say. That's what since I don't typically, walk on a higher wire, I couldn't quite figure out. I couldn't remember what it was called. Not my thing. Although, not far from where I live, there is actually a trapeze school. Cool is that? Also not my thing, though. Kimberly, super sticker, Canada in the house. Elbows up, guys. Keep it up, and thank you. Kelly, thank you so very much for that. Comment, please donate to area food banks and pet food pantries. Our neighbors need us. Let's radiate radical love. Absolutely. Seriously, guys, even if the government opens, SNAP benefits are going to be delayed for days, if not weeks, because of the corruption and cruelty of the Trump regime. This is not a crisis that is going to be over anytime soon. And we're not just talking about SNAP beneficiaries. We're also talking about furloughed federal workers, and essential federal workers who have gone without pay for almost 2 months and are behind with everything, rent, medical bills, you name it. So if you can, and remember, donating to food banks doesn't just mean giving them money, although that's great if you can do it. It means, do you have any canned goods? Do you have any staples that are still good? have not reached their sell-by date. Also, it isn't just food. It's getting cold out there for a lot of people. Do you have any overcoats? Do you have sweaters? Do you have sweatshirts or sweatpants? Anything you can do to help people out would be greatly appreciated. So thank you for the reminder, Kelly. Lokai is a new member. Fantastic. Thank you and welcome. And Katerina is also a new member. Thank you. It is great to have you here. And finally, Susan, thank you so much as always. This is a hazard pay fee. Comment, thank you, Mary and Lexi, for the live coverage of the White House presser. Kudos to both of you. It was painful to watch. It was indeed. But, that's why we're here. So anybody who tuned in, thank you. And it's still up. So if you just want to listen to the commentary, you can do that too. Because Caroline Levitt, she is just the worst. Which is saying something. I mean, actually, Stephen Miller's worse than she is. But of the sycophants, she is certainly top 3 of the worst. Partially because we have to hear from her so often. And it is, without exception, brutally awful. Anyway, thank you to everybody watching on YouTube, streaming on Twitter, and my Substack, The Good in Us. Just another reminder, my Substack just turned 4 years old a couple of days ago, so please check it out. I think you'll like it. Also, thank you to everybody listening to the podcast. More people should listen to the podcast, please. Thank you to all of our new members, everybody gifting memberships, all of our super stickers, all of our people donating. We so appreciate it. It is extraordinarily helpful in these rather difficult times. Also, of course, to our amazing moderators who just make this a place we want to be, especially during these difficult times, truly. And honestly, it's not easy because there are always people trying to get into the comments to ruin it for the rest of us. So we so appreciate you. And of course, to my amazing team, who I appreciate, but especially on days like today, because man, it was a rough one. So thanks, guys. We're just going to keep plugging away. And we'll be back tomorrow night, Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Mary Trump Live. Do not forget that we have other videos dropping every day, 2 or 3, 7 days a week. So check those out. Like, the easiest way to support us is, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get to 500,000. I feel like I've been saying that for months, maybe because I have been, but we are trying. We're almost there. We're over 490. So, another relatively easy way to support us is watch our pre-recorded videos, like them, share them, comment on them. That helps us a lot. So I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind. Bye.